Hello and welcome back to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben, and today you have a special segment called The Bens. So I'm joined by Ben, who is a wonderful person. He is highly ranked, which is nice change for having Chris around stinking up the ratings. So Ben, how are you?
I'm very well, Ben. How are you, Ben?
I am good, thank you. Yes, B1 and B2, which will be the theme for today. Wonderful opinions. So let's start off. I'm just going to read out the socials for us. Someone's got to do something now that Chris is actually buggered off and being whipped. So we are on facebook.com/SC Insider. Twitter, we are SC_Insider_. And on Twitch, we are twitch.tv/SC_Insider. This will be up live today. This will be on all of the audio platforms. Unfortunately, I do apologize for our Twitch fans, and we love to stream and interact with you guys. However, Chris has some stupid two-prong security measure on Twitch, which means I can't use it, and he's overseas, and it's about 3:30 a.m. Don't worry, I did try to message him and wake him up, but no success. So, Ben, how did you go this week, mate?
I didn't have a great week. Unfortunately, two of my primos were on the bench. I had Cogs and Crouch.
Oh,
and it was devastating. So I needed to rely on more rookies than I would have liked. So I ended up with 2-1-3-2, which was in the top 30%, and I'm currently sitting 4,202. So I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, and there's not a lot of difference really between the top 100 and the top 10,000. So
yeah, it's definitely
anywhere in there, I'm pretty happy with.
The bridge has definitely gapped. I scored 2,166. I actually made a few errors this weekend. I was very busy, but I was surprised I didn't slide too much. I'm ranked 1,290, so I only slid about 700 places. I'm still fairly well placed. I think a lot of people did get around that 2,100 to 2,200 mark, so it was kind of around par. But yeah, you're right, 23% for the round. But I think a lot of those that actually did well probably sputtered it up previously, and they've kind of made up a lot of ground for there. So what trades did you make this week, Ben? What worked for you? What didn't? So you would have had two premiums out. You would have had to have made some moves.
Yeah, I bought in Josh Dunkley.
Oh, a solid 88 contributor.
It wasn't great, and it probably against Geelong, with all due respect, it maybe wasn't the smartest week to bring him in, but he was killing it, and it keeps my DPP with the midfield, and I do like his role moving forward for the Dogs. I don't really trust Bevo, but I think he's playing too well in the mids to move him out of there. So,
well, no one trusts Bevo because I think the only things you can rely on apart from Bevo changing up his structures like it's Monopoly is Carlton finishing bottom of the ladder this year, I think. So, sucks to be a Carlton fan, unfortunately.
So I did bring in Stocker as well. He was really, there wasn't much choice last week. So I got Stocker, who almost matched Patrick Cripps. So he did okay himself.
He actually did very well. And I wanted to bring him in, but I actually didn't like his security with Simpson coming in. However, he has actually done quite well. And they might now actually play these kids because it's like, well, look, we're going to give you a game and then we're going to try and see which of these other scraps we don't actually want from here on out. Just quickly, we're just going to shout out. I've got Cooper's Brewery Session Ale, which is kind of our usual sort of thing. So I'm going to have one of these today. So Ben, I hope if you have a beer or a scotch or something, mate, drink of choice, I suggest.
Just a frothy, mate. Love the frothies.
Oh, yes. I do like the frothies. Oh, delicious. I always like to drink during these segments. So for me, it's funny because I had a wedding on Saturday afternoon, got dragged into it. So funny because the Lions played at the same time. I missed the game.
Bugger.
Yeah,
and who did the Lions play?
Adelaide, yes. They played Adelaide. And here's the thing, I really wanted to go, and I had a lot of assessment, a lot of school stuff to get done and what have you. And the missus is like, do you have time to go to this wedding? And I was like, well, to be fair, I'm actually going to, if I don't go to the wedding, I'm going to the football. And she's like, oh, well, stuff you then. You're coming to the wedding. And so I completely missed the game. I was a little bit devastated. Because of that, I actually missed my chance. I wanted to wait until the last announcements for the teams to bring in Boak. And that was on the Sunday. And but the Saturday before that, I wanted to bring in Josh Kelly, and I wanted to get rid of Atkins. I wanted to get rid of Parker. But then Drew being out, and and all these other people actually being out, I was kind of like, I had to hold the fort a little bit. So I didn't bring in Josh Kelly originally, and I was like, right, Boak's my man. I'm going to go Drew to Boak. Happy days. I had the money. I could do it in one trade. Perfect, right? The best trade ever. I got the cash, one trade only. I had AFL on the Sunday, and there was absolute anarchy. I had so many guys not even be able to make the game. We were down to like 14 players out of 18. So literally anarchy. Everything went wrong. And then the game started at 12. And I completely forgot to check my team, and I didn't even bring Boak in to my team. And Drew was already on field, and you have no idea. So literally after that, I was like, I am absolutely screwed, like points wise. So I was like, I have to make an upgrade. Like, if I don't make a single upgrade, it's pointless. So I end up going Walsh up to Josh Kelly in the end, and basically got around the same points. And I was upset, but it kind of worked out a little. So
Walsh got an 80. What did Josh Kelly got?
130. So I think it was about 51 points difference, and I think the difference between Moore instead of Boak was 55. So I think I lost 4 points.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of worked out, except now I don't have Boak, and I don't have Walsh. So
you have Josh Kelly, so
I do.
That's not really a bad option.
We're gonna ride the Josh Kelly train, but so who did you have on field that stunk it up this week, Ben? Because I had some stinkers, and I mean some absolute stinkers.
I had Zach Williams, who was on track for about 10,000, and surprise, surprise, he got injured. Marty Hoare, he got respectable 75 for a rookie, and he's sticking along nicely. I'm happy with him at D6. Paddy Cripps, I am very lucky that I wasn't one of the people that put the captain on him. I know a lot of people that did, and he was devastating with 66. Crouch and Cogs obviously didn't play. Walsh with an 80, Stack 63. I got Dersmer's 56. Just looking. Dunkley with a mediocre 88. Marshall, Chris, he hit 90 again, so I was pretty happy with that. I think he outscored Westhoff by about 60 this week, so I was pretty stoked with that.
I think Westhoff ended up with about 40 odd. He was not very good at all. Actually, I do have him in my stinkers here. Hang on. Port Adelaide, Westhoff had a 62, so 28 points there. Marshall averaging 98 though, which kudos to you, because we all were a bit concerned. Chris in particular, I just kept giving you shit for banter reasons.
Day.
Yeah, absolutely. But you look at it, he's averaging 98. He has a break even of 85 right now, and that's only because he got towed up by Max Scorn. Not surprising, but against Grundy, he scores a 90. Amazing work. Only in 8% of sides.
I think the thing I really like about him, and to be honest, I'd never heard of him before this year, but he does it all around the ground. He doesn't rely on just one thing. So I got him in about 5 or 6 rounds ago, and I'm very happy that I do have him. And a lot of people got on the Westhoff or Darling or what have you, but no, he's sitting there at F5, and he's doing the job for me.
He will actually be a really nice F6, I think. My only concern from here on out, and it's got nothing to do with Longer, I think Marshall definitely looks like the person to go to, but it's a little bit of the, back end of the season, whether he gets fatigued or not. It's a tough job being a ruck, and we've seen other people previously kind of start to run out of a bit of steam, but that's all just conjecture. I mean, at the moment he is killing it, and he is definitely a great option. Just also, Ben, happy birthday for last week, my friend.
Appreciate it, thank you.
When you broke down on your birthday, was it? Was it on your birthday? Did you actually holler a Marshall?
On my birthday, and I didn't holler a Marshall. No, I didn't need batteries. I needed tyres. So
right. Fair enough. Well, you could have hit Chris up. He has about 3 of those left. A few spare tyres.
I had a lovely day, but about half of it would be good to forget.
Yeah, right. I feel a bit dirty ripping on Chris when he's not here, but that's what you get when you piss off to Vegas chasing the ladies.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Just one.
No, can I just appreciate the calling me out to have a chat, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much for joining me, and it's nice not to talk to myself. Last week was definitely challenging, and you know what? I was actually thinking, who provides good banter value? And if you don't get an opportunity to hang shit on Chris, then this will be completely lost. So I am happy that you're here. And anytime you get an opportunity, feel free to rub in whatever you like for Chris, because he has to be ranked over 20,000 right now. And in fact, when you start talking next, Ben, I'm actually going to try and find his ranking for everyone and see how his team has actually performed.
I don't really think there's any other thing that we need to
just ranking.
Pick. It's the fact that Justin Westhoff, I think that's it. I don't think anything else needs to be said.
I'll tell you one juicy option, though, is Robbie Gray. Not just for yet, but rumour is he may be back soon. He's 419k with a break-even of 151, which he's going to be so cheap. Robbie Gray under 400k, and that rhymes, just in case anyone's missing that. I think it's actually a great option for the price. And I'm looking at my team at this moment, and I want all these expensive players, but then I'm looking at these rookies that aren't really coming through. So I'm sort of starting to question whether I'm going to have enough cash to keep trying to go for all of these max options.
It's tough. It's tough. The rookies aren't really doing the job at the moment, and there's no really good options last week or this week, and everyone, I think, is clutching at straws on these one-gamers who have played one good game, and the risk is we're going into buys, and if you've got 7 players on the bench that aren't playing because you picked them after one game and then they get dropped next week. Yeah,
trading out players that have good job security but they're peaking-ish on their break-evens, you kind of almost, like if you don't need to get rid of them just yet, you could almost hold them through the buys and then bugger them off.
Exactly. So
especially the last buy, like if you have anyone playing that last buy, they would be perfect to actually hold through the buys and then move them on because you know you're going to get maximum value.
Yeah, well, that's why, like this week, I've got Diersma and Stack, and I'll probably keep Stack simply because I think he plays for the first 2 weeks, and then I'll dump him on the 3rd week. But all of these players that people are talking about dropping, Petrocelli, Stack, Walsh, they're all players with great job security, and we're looking at bringing in new rookies that have played the one game, and it's just extremely risky. And I'll probably do the same. I'm looking at maybe a Darcy Fort type player. If he's named this week, he'd be probably hard to not get. I'll also look at Haitley and Rotham, but I'm just really sceptical that they can hold those positions, and it's really important that you have these players playing during the bye rounds. So it's going to involve a lot of luck. Actually,
I am with you 100%, and I told someone I'd say that today. 100%. There you go, everyone. That's my first 100% for today. Didn't even realize I was overusing that at all last week, and I realized it's actually from my missus because I hopped in the car with her on the way to the wedding, and she said 100% twice in about 5 minutes, and I was like, "It's you! It's your fault! It's your fault!" I am with you. Rotham, I expect him to play this week because Jeddah's out suspended.
Correct.
So that, obviously you could be surprised, but I think he'll play this week, which then, if he plays, he might make 70k, which is great, but he needs to play 2 games to at least make you 100, and I don't know when he's going to get that game. He probably will for sometime this year, but who knows when it's going to be. Haitley's the exact same. He has been really hard done by not being in the side. If he was at Carlton, he would have played so many games by now.
He would be racking up 120s in Carlton.
He would be definitely in the best side there. Unfortunately, he's at GWS, and even though they have injuries, even Cumming is tearing it up in the NEFL or the seconds, and not even getting a game as well. So they're both hard done by. Just had a quick look. Chris is still inside the top 20,000, so he's very lucky. He's ranked 19,775. He got a score of 2,146, so not too bad considering. He brought in Josh Kelly by the looks of it. He had Bolter actually save him because he had Zach Williams, he had Westhoff, he had Corbett, I think on the bench actually. Dersmas 56, Wilkie, Clark, Gibbons on field, Answorth on field. He had Haitley and Scott on his bench and stuff like that. So he actually did really well because Bolter on field got him 101. So without that, he probably would have actually been looking at underneath 2,100 almost. So yeah, good save.
Can we just touch on Bolter? He's a guy who everyone traded out Rams to.
I got rid of him.
for Matty Parker, and I know so many people did that. And now this guy pretty much looks like he's got the keys to the rucking duties for quite some time.
This is a problem with Supercoach, is that you never know what the F's going to happen with injuries. And the thing is, I actually got rid of him instead of Setterfield. At the time, well, I was like, okay, Setterfield, his break even was fairly low. He had at least showed a little bit of potential with a 70 and stuff at that time. And I was like, okay, look, I'll hold Setterfield. So I actually got rid of Bolter. I had the money. I actually upgraded him, funnily enough, to O'Brien. Not a bad trade. I don't regret that at all, except wouldn't you know it that Richmond's key pillars went down, so therefore, look, a bit more stability with Bolter. I get that, but his scoring potential hasn't been good until Nank got injured. And how are you going to know Nankervis is going to get injured? And then all of a sudden he goes like, 88 or something rather than now 100. And he's literally skyrocketed. He has a break even of like negative 30 and he's already up to 250 something thousand. Like, how do you know?
It is probably the biggest turnaround I've seen.
And everyone that had him wanted to get rid of him. I guarantee you. They looked at him and go, oh, Bolter's on my bench. Oh, at least he's playing. 20 points is better than no points. And then all of a sudden...
He was the laughing stock.
He was. And then all of a sudden, those that were too Jewish to move him on are literally laughing so hard because all of a sudden, when there is injuries and people aren't playing in that forward line, Bolter's actually gone bang, bang. And now he's actually made some serious cash. So, that's kind of the reasoning behind it. That's the reason I'm also keeping Scott in the midfield. I'm hoping North Melbourne get to the point where they're like, well, we're pretty bad. We're not making finals, so we might as well actually see what these guys have got. And let's start
the young ones. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. And whether it will come into fruition or not will be another story. But I hope they start to play some of these kids and give them some games, and not just one. We're saying like, let's give them 4 or 5 games and let's say, this is your time. You've got this 5-game slot. Let's see what you can do, without being like, oh, you're in for a week and now you're out, and now you're back in for a week and now you're out. And you're just chopping and changing, literally chopping and changing more than Brad Scott's resume for next year, I tell you.
Well, he was actually looking really promising, and the preseason he put up some really solid scores for memory. And then he put up a couple of decent scores at the start, and then he was dropped. So,
he put up 100 in his first game.
Yeah,
and then he got sick, and then he got sick, and then got like a 20, and then he followed up with like a 50, and then got dropped, or something like that. Yeah, I think he played 3 or 4, and then that's all she wrote. So, interesting. Okay, so let's go through. I might actually just bring up the bubble boys, and there's nothing here at the moment, and that's why people. It's dire when everyone's jumping early and they're clutching at straws. And what we need is, this is the kind of pivotal moment in a movie. Everything's going downhill. Everything is stuffed. It's all dire. There's no luck. We are literally getting smashed. And then all of a sudden, Bobby Boucher, was it Bobby Boucher?
Bobby Boucher, Waterboy.
Bobby Boucher comes out. Remember when Bobby Boucher came out at halftime and won us the Super Bowl? The Bourbon Bowl? Sorry, the Bourbon Bowl. Yeah, and I think that is honestly what the mid-season draft could provide for us. And I am hoping Dunkley's brother gets picked up by someone sucky and they play him and he does well, because we need some options.
we definitely do need options. Do you think...
I think is that this week or next week? I think it's next week. Next week? Yeah.
Do you think we should be banking on these kids that are getting drafted? The teams are already pretty full. You look at a team like GWS or Geelong. Even if they get any of these rookies, I don't know if we should be counting on any of them getting quality games. But you never know. I guess you never know. So,
well, if Stack can do it and if Gibbons can do it, I think at least this part through the season, it's more of a fill the need. So clubs are looking at who is killing it in the VFL or the SANFL or wherever, and they're actually going, this is what we need because we have injuries to these key pillars, or we have injuries to this, that, and the other, and we need this role. So if they're going out of their way to get them, because I'm pretty sure they don't get to keep them for the longevity. They keep them for this year and then they go back into the draft. And if they want them, they have to get them then.
They're essentially showcasing them.
Yes, essentially. Yeah, because otherwise, that's my interpretation and that's what I believe, because otherwise it's people just start making early retirements and be like, sweet, because that actually gives you an edge on the rest of the competition because you can actually get someone. So it's meant to actually supplement the people you've lost, so that way you can then build up your team with players that can actually help you throughout the season. So I think it's going to be, you might only find 2, maybe 3 people, and some might actually just go for depth. And the ones that are going for depth are the ones that aren't going to be any use to you. However, if they really need a position, then you could actually find some good players. And apparently Dunkley, at this point in time, Dunkley's brother is killing it so hard because I think he had some injury issues, got overlooked. He is killing it so hard that they actually equate him to a top 30 draft pick at current. So if there was a draft today, they actually put him in the top 30. So he's going.
Let's just all pray that there's a Tim Kelly and a Michael Barlow on the horizon for all of the super coaches out there.
We need something.
we need something.
Just something, just a nip.
Yeah, Ainsworth and Burgess aren't doing it for me.
Oh no, and I'm actually a little bit pissed at how well Corbett's actually done. A few 60s in a row. I regret not picking him up because he had the better buy, and I was like, nah, Moore's got a great score like per minute. Except they're not playing him full minutes, and he's kind of been a bit dodgy. So there you go. Okay, so the Bubble Boys. So again, as we've touched on, Haitley, Rotham are the main 2 for this week, which isn't that promising. And then Rupert Willis, who I wouldn't trust anyway because he was a late in. Apart from the fact that he plays for Collingwood, you just don't trust anyone from Collingwood anyway, do you, Ben?
I trust Brady Grundy. That's about it.
Oh, yeah, I meant just, Collingwood in general. The shady folks like Chris.
I wouldn't trust them. No, I would not trust them.
Actually, who do you go for, Ben?
I go for Adelaide.
Ah, right. Yes, well, unlucky then, hey?
So question for you on the Bubble Boys. If Fort and Rotham and Haitley all get selected this week, who do you take?
Well, if Haitley gets named, I probably will take him for the sake that all he needs to do is play 2 games. So you hope he comes out and guns it and he makes you 130k or 140k in 2 games. I think just based on the fact that he's a good scorer, and so you could put him on field this week instead of trying to rely on someone else like Atkins. I think you kind of have to. It's a tough one though because there's no security, but at the same time, if Bolter can actually get a few good games and keep some games from luck, then anybody can have some games from luck. One person I do think is actually good is Robert Young.
Yes.
Not a high possession getter, never has been, relies on goals and tackles and whatever have you. I think he had about 4 tackles, kicked a few 2 goals maybe, but they're versing Carlton this week.
Okay.
So if that's not a shoe-in for kicking a couple of goals, and even Parker, I want to move on so hard, literally the bane of my existence with such a bad score, gave away a 50-meter penalty in the last quarter, gave away more free kicks than probably anyone, absolute muppet. Doesn't help that the fact that, well, he has scored well in parts, but Saints haven't won their last 4 games, so his last 4 games have been woeful. Whereas you come up against Carlton, St Kilda are actually favourites. Carlton's defence is dismal at this point in time. It's so dysfunctional. Seriously, it's just an absolute mess. So for me, I'm actually thinking about keeping Parker, and hopefully, I don't know if he's loopholing worthy or what the draw's like. I'll have to have a look. But I think Parker against Carlton, I actually know they played pretty last Sunday. So Parker against Carlton, I think is going at least 80. I'm actually considering holding him against all of my better judgment to get rid of him.
Well, if Parker's going 80, I'm going to put the captain on Marshall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, if well, that's fair. Except for the fact that Cruiser kind of held his own pretty well though last week.
Yeah, I won't do that. I was just having one more stab at Chris. I definitely won't do that. But there should be some tasty scores this week.
Yep.
Parker could do really well if he kicks a bag of goals, what have you.
I think he will. I think he might actually have his Petrocelli moment where he actually kicks a few. But Robert Young, again, quick, agile, putting pressure on. I expect him to do well against Carlton also. So not that he'll be the best option. He'll probably end up just getting you 50s. But if he gets 2 good scores in a row of 70, he should spike. He should spike enough in the first few weeks, and he's 117k. So same as Darcy Fort. At this point in time, I don't expect him to ruck much, but he kicked 3 goals and he scored well. So if he does the same thing again, I can't see them changing his role so much because Radaglia has been horrible. And
he has, but did he come in for him or Stanley?
No, Stanley still played, so he came in for Radaglia, played a lot forward, I believe, and kicked 3 goals.
Yes, he did.
And still would have chopped out in the ruck and whatever have you. And the score was probably amplified by the fact that the Dogs have such a sucky ruck. But at the same time, he kicked 3 goals. So that's what he's there for if he keeps doing well. So I'm going to hold off on him. It's going to be interesting because if he does well and he's a ruckman, I'm like, well then, I'll just have to then essentially trade out O'Brien, really. So what do you do?
It's a really logical move, and we just pray that Fort keeps getting games. O'Brien he's hit his break even. He's made nearly 300k, and unfortunately, most people have the 2 big rucks. His scores are going to waste on the bench, so it's a really tricky one.
It is tricky. So at this point in time, it's a combination between, so what is that, 10, 11, 12, 3 rounds before the bye. So it's a really tough dilemma to be put in because it's like Fort plays well. If he plays well this week, you're kind of forced to bring him in on the fact that there are no good rookies.
Correct.
Then you can then cash O'Brien and get yourself a premium bang, points in the bank, which then is kind of offset by the fact that you're not going to have O'Brien playing in the ruck during the bye for Max Gawn and Grundy.
We'd only get benefit out of him from one game, wouldn't we?
It's only one game. It's only one game, and even then, it's actually not a given because Jacobs is actually on the brink of returning. So if Jacobs comes back, he might play 2 games in the seconds, and then all of a sudden he actually plays round 13, knowing that he gets 14 off, and he gets to play a game, have a rest, and then play a game, and all of a sudden you've held O'Reilly O'Brien instead of going a Fort, and then he actually gets dropped the week that you need him.
Yeah, and I think as well as he's played, I don't see Adelaide. They can't play them both, I don't think. And I think just on the namesake, I think Jacobs would have to come back in, which probably doesn't bode well for Brian.
Yeah, I think Sauce, if he's fit, they'll probably go back to him. I think O'Brien's done well. I think Sauce is kind of on his last legs though. So what they might do is they say, look, you've had a really good chunk. We don't want to burn you out. So we're going to give Sauce a go and give him a few more games and see how we go. And if they keep playing well, Adelaide, and start pushing finals, they might be like, okay, well, Jacobs, you have it for this year. But next year, who knows, maybe O'Brien takes over or they get Grundy, which would be ideal. So
that would be fantastic.
I actually think it's kind of win-win, to be honest, for Collingwood. So, I know everyone oh, yes, so it's the best ruckman and whatever have you, but rucks don't have the best track record when it comes to playing a lot of seasons unless you are Cox, who is probably one of the only ones who has been a high performer for a long period of time. Otherwise, Max Gawn's been up there for a few years, yes, but he came out of nowhere, had injuries. Steph Martin's been up there for quite a few years, yes, but again, he came out of nowhere and late. So it's a really tough combination because apparently the first draft pick and the second draft pick this year are meant to be better than Sam Walsh. So if you can get an opportunity to get one of these guys and replace a Pendlebury and a side bottom who are actually aging and then still supplement, because let's face it, you're Collingwood. You'll still be able to attract ruckmen and you'll still be able to attract other players anyway to supplement your list. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one for me.
It will be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yes. So let's look to next week's Bubble Boys then, because let's face it, if you're not going Haitley or Rotham this week, there's really no one for you, to be honest. And even then, their job security is horrible. Rotham played 1 game, got dropped, and then was a late in and hasn't played since. He was a late in, which does not give you confidence. Haitley's played a game, and then he was also a late in and then dropped and hasn't been seen since. So I
think the issue with these two, as well as they have played, because the Eagles and Giants are so deep, they're just really always going to struggle, and they're always going to be on that cusp, and it's always going to be an anxious wait to see if they are or aren't playing on a Sunday, and they're just going to be really hard to trust, Correct. In my opinion.
And I think the biggest issue is that Cornelio didn't play and Haitley couldn't even get a game. Kelly came back in. He played the week before that. But Cornelio didn't play, so they're like, oh, well, Haitley couldn't even get a game. And now they've got, I think, who was it came back last week? Delidio came back. And this week, Cornelio is meant to come back in as well as some other players. So I think there's even less room for Haitley. I don't see him getting a game except, maybe they reshuffle something. I don't know. I think Cummings comes back in possibly for Williams, and that's kind of as far as it goes. But and Rotham. And the funny thing is, we wouldn't even be mentioning these guys if they didn't score so well in their 2 games, because all we get caught up on is that price of going up 81,000, going up 70,000. And that's what we're all focused on, is because they're going to make cash in very few games, but we don't know how far apart those games are.
And you got to remember too, those scores might have been anomalies. They could come in and you could bring one in, a Haitley, and put him on the field, and he might score a 25.
Yeah, he might pull a Scott.
he may not get the 90s that everyone's expecting. And even if he is named, we shouldn't probably get too excited, because it probably be short term, and we certainly shouldn't be expecting 90s from them.
Yeah, I was so hoping he was going to get named last week. Like, you have no idea, because I'm like, they're going to win the game. That was a given. And then he'll play again. Like, if they win, then how is it? It's so hard to, like, not keep the same side, right? So then he would have played Melbourne, and he probably would have hopefully kept his job there anyway. So he would have gone bang, bang, up 2 prices anyway, and then Gold Coast. So if he kept his role, all of a sudden he plays Gold Coast, and then boom, all of a sudden he's made you, 180,000. Instead, we sort of just looked at him going, I wish. But yeah, Darcy Fort's meant to actually, based on his projected, which is crazy, he's meant to go up 110,000 in his first week. Break even of 140 because of his 105. However, we have seen this with Bailey Scott, who absolutely followed up his 100 with the woeful, what was it, like 20? It was something so bad.
26 or something.
Yeah. It was one of the worst scores you'll see all year. So, yes, I do understand for those that wanted to move on early, if you want to make some upgrades, just be wary of Cumming, who I actually upgraded early last year. He only played 1 game, and then those played the second and then got dropped. So, yes, be wary. The other option is Robert Young, as I mentioned earlier, and Joel Garner is also a popular one. So I know a couple of guys who went with Joel Garner early, even before he played a game, because the options were that bad, and they really rated. Was it Garner or was it Atley? No, sorry, Atley. Atley in the midfield.
Port.
Yeah, Atley from Port in the midfield. They really rated him earlier in the year. So they actually, 2 guys ranked one of them's actually ranked top 50, actually went early on Atley. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah, pretty hectic.
It's really between him and Drew, isn't it? Him and Drew are sort of fighting for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, and it's going to be interesting when Robbie Gray comes back in as to what the dynamic is, because who knows what's going to happen with that dynamic. And Hinge as well is the other one for next week. He scored, I think it was 56. Yeah, 56 in his first week, so 123k defender. Hodge was out, but he was already named anyway prior to that. Leicester was the one that made way for him. Reece the Beast Matheson got suspended for pulling a Gary Ablett. Well, so many of them this week. Like, seriously, talk about continuity in like your rulings. And like, to be fair, with AFL, I have no issues if you want to insult the umpire, you want to call him a girl, or if you want to call him a flog or a cheat, then fair enough, you deserve a pretty big whack. I mean, Dusty Martin gets a 5,000 suspended sentence for giving someone the finger. Like, they're just things that you can't have happen. So I'm okay with that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is that the girl comment, people are like, oh, well, Rampy would have been, 2,500 cheaper, like better off if he called him a cheat instead of a little girl. But Daisy Thomas had to actually pay that in full, I believe, compared to actually Rampy, who had half of his suspended. So, yes, interesting.
I just think there needs to be some sort of equal rulings when it comes to that sort of thing. And and it's the elbows are an absolute joke, and that's why there's like not consistency enough where the big names, and we've all known it and we've all suspected it for a long time, where the big names get off and those that are Reece the Beast Matheson, who look a bit rough and a bit troublesome, they just get suspended anyway. And the thing I found was a big joke, Ben, was the who was it? Collingwood, Varco. And people are like, oh, but Varco, Indigenous round, and he created the jumper, and he needs to be let off because he deserves to play. And it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time, if you get suspended, then who gives a shit? Like, you're out. Like, it doesn't matter. There shouldn't really be any loopholes. Doesn't matter what round's coming up. Same with Fife. I'm sure when they were looking at it from all angles, they thought, well, he's probably going to be one of the Brownlow favourites, so in that case, we won't suspend him.
Yeah.
If it was anyone else, he definitely would have got a week off, no question.
And even like Gary as well, it's kind of like, oh, okay. And here's the thing, though. The better they are as a player, the better their record. It's kind of almost like they look for reasons not to suspend you rather than look for reasons on, what you've actually done. So they kind of watch it back twice maybe and go, oh, but it's Gary Ablett. I have to be sure. Let me watch this again. Or maybe he didn't mean it. No. And then, but then they watch someone else and they watch Reece Matheson or, Jeddah's tackle, which I didn't have that much of an issue with, to be honest. They look at that and they go, oh, no, that's not a good look. It's just this, double standard.
Favoritism.
Yeah, 100% favoritism.
That'll do.
There's another 100% for those counting at home. But yeah, Joel Garner, I don't think he's really played. Attlee's the one. Attlee, Haitley, Rotham, Young, and Fort. If Fort follows this up, I'm not going early on Fort. Forts take time to build, and I'm just going to wait on that one. So
I like that.
Yeah,
I do.
Thank you. Yeah, they take time.
Did you think of that yourself?
I did, actually, off the cuff.
That's impressive.
Yes, so that's the Bubble Boys. The next segment we'll get into is the hit and miss category, and I honestly believe that Marshall is one of the biggest hits this year. I think you'll back that up, would you, Ben? Would you back that up?
I could not disagree with that, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, no worries. Well, you can't disagree with facts, as Chris always says.
Well, he's averaging just under 100, and to be fair, no one probably knew his name before the start of the season. So, yeah, I'm pleased he is a hit. And he's definitely a hit, and I'm waiting for him to not be a hit, but he keeps performing.
Well, he does, and your team is definitely well-rounded because of it. If you actually had Cogs and Crouch in your team, you would have had a really good week. So it's tough. It's tough.
That's the breaks. They will hopefully get named this week. I'm really hoping they do, because I do have Williams who will be out, and Dangerfield there's a question mark too. I don't know if they'll risk him when they're playing Gold Coast.
Gold Coast. Yeah, That'll be interesting. I might even do a little quick half an hour Facebook live video or something tomorrow night. The good thing is I don't have to do as many lesson plans because Friday's athletics carnival day, so I will be free to answer some more questions. I might do a little quick hit and miss sort of section, just focusing on some of the big scores this week and some of the ones that really projected people in. And Ben, we might get your thoughts on them, and you might even have some of these guys, to be honest. So we'll go through the rounds anyway. So we'll say West Coast, there was Hearn with 161, Yo with 136, and Dommy Sheed with 110.
No, none of them.
Oh, you got rid of Sheedy. Well, that's a good call.
I never started with Sheed.
Good.
I started with Brad Crouch and Libba.
The voice of reason. I was actually trying to find some Dom Sheed pictures to have as a background on Twitch today. I'm not even lying. And Marshall. I was going to flick between them in some weird sort of slideshow where in the background it was literally just those two guys. But yeah, I don't have any of those guys. Hearn I do really want to have, but the problem is he's now just gone bang up in price, which I hate. Is
he 580?
Yeah. Yo is he's actually on my next page. Hang on, let me have a look at him.
Yo's averaging about 10 tackles a game over the last 4. He's killing it. And
Yo's 577k. And
good friend of mine, Jared Lucas, who is a top admin for our page. He mentioned him about 3 weeks ago, and since then he's gone bang, bang, bang. So
Chris has been on him for quite a while. Ever since Gaff came back in, he's Yo's been killing it. At the same time, I don't think they've really versed the best opposition, just quietly. Although, he did score horrible against Brisbane round 1. But no, ever since Gaff's come back in, Yo has been a good option. Problem is their bye, though. They have such a bad sort of bye, I think, with a lot of those guys in the first one. But I am looking at them in that first bracket with the, your Dogs players. So I don't have Bontempelli. I don't have Boak from Port Adelaide. Who else am I looking at? I'm looking at Sicily, so Sick Dog. I'm looking at Hearn, and I'm looking at Yo, and Merritt, actually. So they're the main ones that I'm kind of looking at as far as how much money I have and who I can get into my side to strengthen it. They're the ones that you want to try and target in that first buy, after that first buy.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yes, so I'm trying to free up some cash, and I think I'll make some more upgrades this week, and then I'm hoping that next week it will be a perfect round for that double downgrade and start to prepare that little treasure chest for the buys. And that's where all my trades will just disappear. And unlike Ben, what have you got, 15 left? Trade hungry?
Yeah, I've traded really hard early on to try and set my team up, and it's got me in the top 5,000, which I'm happy with. Ideally, I'd have 5 or 6 more. I'm constantly reminded that I shouldn't be trading as much, but
it's a game, and
it is a game. And my forwards are 6 deep. I've got the 2 good rucks.
Did you say forwards or fingers?
My forwards, mate.
Right, forwards are 6 deep. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've cashed in. I've done a lot of 1-up, 1-downs with the rookies that are fattened, and now I just really.
Sorry, you're talking about 6 deep and fattened, and I'm being really immature now, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah, no connotations intended, mate. But no, I have traded hard, and I'm gonna have to pump them.
all of your descriptors: hard, pumped, fat fingers. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I do have to pump the brakes. I've got to slow down. I just need to be happy with what I've got for a while and ride the buys out, and save a few trades for necessary adjustments after the buys.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just having a look as well. Hearn's 585k, which is a problem because he's going over 600. And yeah, that's a problem. And same as Whitfield. Whitfield's actually at a really good price right now. He fired big time. So we'll go. Actually, I might move on. Maxi Gorn 144, Oliver 115. I think they did well. We already touched on Howe with the 75. Brayshaw, I already posted on this one, but he stunk up the whole game, and then I think his dad broke into Supercoach headquarters to champion data, and he just started to get some really late points, and
he got 40 in the last minute or thereabouts.
Yeah, it was crazy. Ended up with a 78. Lockhart with a 52, and people got greedy thinking that they'll take Ainsworth or someone else, and actually lost 30 points or 25 points. So that sucks if that was you. You know who you are. Collingwood, Grundy 144, Treloar again with another solid score of 113, and Crisp with a 93. Still just ticking around relevance, Crisp. He's
had a few downers, but he's still okay. I don't know what his average is now, but I wouldn't be displeased if I had him.
Yeah, he's ticking away, but I remember this time last year, we're thinking of all these good options like Howe, and Howe has really stunk up this year. He got a 68 again this week. I don't think he's had many good games at all this year, which is surprising because Howe normally just floats and gets all these key possessions. I don't know if it's Darcy Moore maybe taking that sort of, even though Darcy Moore plays a bit more accountable, but Howe normally sort of floated off and got those marks and the intercepts, whereas now he's kind of not getting as many points. So I'm not sure where the separation is, where that dysfunctionality is in his game, but he's not scoring anymore.
I think you answered your own question. I think Darcy Moore, they didn't have him last year, and this year when you watch the games, Moore has patches of being everywhere, and I think he would definitely be taking points off what Howe should be getting.
Yeah, Howe. Don't know how.
I don't know how either.
I still live on that one, but and the next one we'll go with is Marshall. Obviously got the 90. Billings got 100, which is interesting. He's still quite cheap too. If you look at Sir Billings, is 462k with an average of 94. So nothing to sneeze at. His break even is 82. He scored 75 in the first half when they were competitive, and then literally fell away when they got spanked, and only scored another 25 for the half. So managed with a respectable 100, but you would look at that and be a little concerned. I think against Carlton, though, I think he's a shoo-in for at least a ton.
Easily.
You know who else is a shoo-in for a ton, Ben?
Does he? Yeah, probably. I'm gonna say Marshall.
Marshall, Marshall. Yeah. Guaranteed for a ton. There you go. And I wonder how many more points he will score than Westhoff this week.
Let's debrief next week.
Probably a ton. Okay, so Brisbane, Lachie Neale with the 148 is absolutely monstered. Like, this kid is a freak. He has to be Brownlow favourite.
He's flying.
Absolutely
Best
flying.
footy of his life.
Like, let's look at it. 127, 140, 177, 140, 91, 142, 108, 114, and 148. That is stupidly good.
Very consistent and doesn't look like slowing down.
Averaging 131.5. Like, that's just ridiculous. So let's count. So I heard JB on Dr. Supercoach talking about he's got more 140s than under. So we got a 148, a 142, a 140, a 170, and a 140. So 5 of his 9. Jeez, more than half the time he's going over 140. That's ridiculous.
And even more ridiculous is I don't have him in my team yet.
Oh, that is ridiculous. And he's 635. So he's kind of... Oh, yeah, that 90 round he would have bottomed out a little bit. Although, no, he's still... This is the cheapest he has been since round 2.
Well, it
cheapest he has been since round 2. What is his break even? Let me just see if I can find it back up. Here we go. Let me find him. Break even of 117. So, well, if you want him, you might have to kind of try and fork out to get him.
Well, it's interesting. I can remove O'Brien and Walsh, and I can bring in Fort, which is early. And I could also get Lockie Neal with about 80,000 spare cash. So it's
that's actually not
definitely
bad.
something that I would look at this week.
That's actually not bad. Yeah, if not this week, you could probably do it next week. I think it'll still hover. But yeah, this week, yeah, why not? You know what? Fuck it. You're burning trades anyway, Ben. Let's just live large.
Well, he plays Fremantle too, so it could go either way. I reckon
he could. I think Fremantle are doing a good 12-month research study as to how to try and stop Lockie Neal, and I think they're still searching for answers, to be honest. So they're not putting Fife on him. So let's face that. And I think, well, who are they going to put on him? Brayshaw or someone? Like, it's...
I really don't think it matters.
No, he's getting towed. Like, anyone they put on him is getting absolutely towed. Lockie Neal is unstoppable, and he has the incentive of going back over there to spank Fremantle. Like, hey, guess what? We're in the top 4, and you guys are literally in the top 4 for meth heads, which is about all their top ranking for. So, yeah, and he knows the Oval too. So it's not like it's like, oh, he's going over to Perth and he's never played there before. Like,
definitely a point to prove.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'll do well.
Yes, I actually wouldn't mind putting him as a captain, except I think Cripps could really go bang against the Saints with a point to prove. It's a risky one, though.
I think he could too. I hate putting a captain on a player that has just scored, for example, 66 in the previous round.
Yeah, so it sucks. But again, De Boer, he's a crafty bugger. And that's why I would not be touching Oliver this week, just quietly.
I agree.
If they go with him. But look, let's go to Adelaide quickly. Sloan with a 124. Smith again with the 96 is trucking along. Brad Crouch finally proving that he is relevant, and got a 119. So out of the shadows of his brother, which is always nice. There's some underperforming players around this anyway. So Geelong, Duncan killing it again. Stewart is got a 114, and he's still relevant. I don't know how, but Stewart is only 508,000 with a break even of 95, and he's averaging really well.
Very consistent, and my only worry there is when Tui plays. Yeah, but he's very consistent, and he's looking like a lock for a top 10.
Yeah, I think you're right with the top 10. I think he's definitely around that mark. Yeah, and we'll get into what to do with Williams and stuff, which is a very big question coming up. But yeah, Clark only got a 33, which is definitely dismal, so that's definitely a miss for Geelong. Bulldogs had a few good players, so McRae with a 124. Bontempelli actually got a 96, so it's funny because Bontempelli now has a break-even of 150, and he's 579k right now, so I think he could drop some cash and be, in that sort of under 550, sort of 530, 540, depending on how he goes. But after his bye, he could actually be a prime picker.
Well, it could be. It's no coincidence that McRae and Dunkley are scoring more, so those massive scores that Bont was getting, maybe it's just being shared around a bit more, but he's definitely a good pickup, and if you can get him for 550, it wouldn't be the stupidest thing to do.
Here's the problem. He's versing North Melbourne this week, and he could easily make a 150 break even. Like, he could, though. Like, North Melbourne have literally the most dysfunctional midfield just out there. And, I mean, Higgins got towed up by probably Hewitt because he only got 60-odd. Cunnington's he's actually doing very well, but I just don't trust Cunnington, ever. Yeah. And Zeeble again. I don't trust anyone from North Melbourne.
I don't either.
As far as Supercoach, like apart from Goldie a couple of years ago, there's just and Higgins maybe when he was a forward. There's just nothing. Nothing to interest me at all.
It's just a no-go zone. I'll keep Scott on the bench, and I won't touch any of the other ones.
I am with you there. Can I just say a quick suck you to those that brought in Daniel? Got a 77. And he is actually, funnily enough, Daniel is 486,000 with a break even of 134 now. So he will be, again, another prime picker for the buys. And I may actually bring him in when he drops cash. So,
do you think JJ's affected him?
I think JJ in defence has affected him a little bit, but Dunkley has still been very consistent. But like I said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, he was on such a bad score at halftime, and then end up coming up with like 110. So I think he's a good player, and you could do a lot worse than him. But I don't think he has the ceiling to pull out these 130s. And all of a sudden, if he pulls out some 70s and some 60s, then his average will literally drop quicker than it went up. So, yeah, and that's the problem with you have these consistent guys that score so well. It just takes a few crappy games to unravel them. Speaking of which, let's go with Sam Petrovsky-Seaton, who Chris has a nice little bet on. Scores a 34. He said he was going over, 91.5? He's now averaging under 70. He's averaging 78.1.
Yeah, right.
His average, and I can bring it up, has dropped so much. He was averaging, so his average went up to 94.4 after round 5.
Is that when they played Hawthorn?
Versus the Bulldogs. He got a 136, and Chris was contemplating bringing him into his side, which I'm sure now he's glad he listened to my reason, because that was the worst pick ever. It stunk, and then he's gone 74, 62, 61, 34. Hall's scored better than that in the last 4 weeks, and so now he's averaging 78.1.
So who's averaging higher, SPS or Westhoff?
78.1. Okay, hang on, 78.1. This is good. We can just talk shit. Hang on. Westhoff. 78.1 and 72.7.
Oh.
So maybe he should have brought in Sam Petrovsky-Seaton. But he has the ruck swing eligibility. So there you go. Very, very, very interesting. Hayes really hurt me with a 31. And here's a funny thing. I'm actually glad I took it, and I wasn't going to. I had Hayes as my score, and I had this really quick decision to make, because I'm like, I need to, if I want to take Grundy's score, I have to take Hayes's crappy 31, right? Which is not a good decision any day of the week. But the other option was, I was like stressed for trades. I didn't know if I was bringing in Kelly at that point in time, because I was going to bring in Boak, and I was like, well, I'm not going to captain Boak. And so I was like, okay, well, if Hayes got a 51, then realistically I needed my captain to then go 123 or more for it to be beneficial. That was my thinking. I was like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just taking the 144. I'll do with my crappy score. I'll bring in Boak, happy days. And if I had Josh Kelly, I probably would have let it ride, to be honest, and put him as captain. But in the end, yeah, he scored horrible. And I'm lucky, because I would have actually made Cripps captain otherwise, which would have been absolutely dire, and that would have been devastating. It would have ruined me. I literally would not have been. I wouldn't have been out of bed all week, and I would not have been recording this podcast. So literally, I'd just be like shivering, like Cripps. Just yeah, that was horrible. He didn't move for about an hour. He apparently gave them like a big spray to all this team too after the game. Like they had a meeting where the coaches wanted to come in, and they told the coaches to like piss off, because this is like a player driven meeting. So who knows what would have happened out of that, and maybe they need to be more accountable, and maybe as they should, like they need a bit of rough stuff like Hawthorn, where they, this is our standard, this is what's acceptable, and this is what we're not putting up with. And what I'm not putting up with is no one getting my back and knocking out De Boer in quarter 1. Like Setterfield, mate, you've just had a couple of weeks off, knock him out. The way I see it, it's a real shame. Cripps, probably the most dominant player in the competition in the worst team, and I would love to see him play for someone else. And I just hope he doesn't get burnt out from not only physical but mental. It must be really hard going into every game knowing that you're going to lose. So that's not easy.
He tries his heart out, and yeah, I just worry that he's young, and yeah, it's just probably not healthy physically or mentally to be doing everything in a team that's losing.
That being said, it's funny because I was watching this game thinking, oh, well, at least they'll get one of these top 2 picks next year. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that's right.
Adelaide have it.
Yeah, Adelaide have it, which is absolutely crazy. So Adelaide must be just laughing over themselves. And to be fair, I think if Carlton didn't lose Doherty and Simpson wasn't injured and everything else kind of went their way, they actually probably would have been a lot better this year. But in the end, no, you can't deal with all these injuries, and you just have to deal with it. So yeah, there you go.
And we'll just keep assuming they're going to be rebuilding for the next decade.
I think they have been better, but even Brisbane were better at when they were building, and then all of a sudden they got beaten by 90 points or 100 points. It's a hard thing to do, and when your confidence is so battered and you're trying to do all the team things, and they're so paranoid at this point about their role and their job, and they're trying to save their own skin, that they're not doing the selfless things anymore because they're too worried about losing their position and losing their spot, that they're trying to save themselves. And sometimes when you're so focused on you're not actually doing the stuff for the team, and then it comes a bit dysfunctional. So anyway, I'll just quickly wrap up. We'll go with the Essendon. So Shield finally decided not to try and overkick the ball and actually hit some targets, which was lovely. Scored a 130. Merritt, I think, is an awesome option. For those who actually kept him through his first 3 rounds, congratulations. You deserve a medal. So he got a 121. Who are you thinking about prioritizing then, Ben, for the first round upgrades? So let's go through the midfielders. You've got Yeo, Merritt, Bontempelli. Do you have McRae?
I don't have McRae.
Oh, you should get McRae. He's so cheap.
He would probably be the one.
He's so cheap. Like,
yeah,
he is literally perfectly placed. McRae, he's 584,000. He's already down like 110,000, and his break even's only 90. So he is. Problem is they have a bye in 2 weeks or whatever. So that's the only down thing. So you actually know they play 2 rounds and then they have a rest.
He plays the Eagles in round 11, so I'm really hoping that he doesn't score well there.
Oh, Hutchings.
His price.
Yes,
and then swing him in round 13. Yep, that'll do. Round 13. So I'm hoping he doesn't move too much.
Fair enough. That's fair. Yeah. Generally, he doesn't score too many under 100, but he did have the 2 in a row, which is I think why he's dropped that 110k.
But North this week, he could be anything.
Yes, that is true. He could. I actually expect McRae. And here's the thing: if I wasn't, I feel like I have to go Grundy because everyone's going Grundy. At the same time, though, I would love to VC McRae. I don't know if I'm game enough to captain McRae, but you could. Like
against North,
you really could.
Yeah, you really. I don't think you can lose. I really don't.
But it's one of those funny things though. Like, do you? And North have so many outside runners. They have Cunnington in the guts, and like Higgins is pretty like silky, but they don't have any real tough mids except for Cunnington, who only plays 70% of a game anyway. And they have a lot of outside, like Polek, Hall, if he comes back into the side. They have a lot of these outside runners, and McRae's just better at them in every facet of the game. So he could go 150. It would not surprise me at all.
No, I'm going to revisit the comment you said last week, and I think we will put the vice captain on Grundy, and that will be as far as we'll need to go. I think against Sydney, he could do some real damage. Well,
last year, Grundy got about a 167, I think, against Sydney, which is ridiculous. And Sinclair has been out of form so hard that you honestly, and Friday Night Footy, I think, he is a lock as far as the VC goes. And then after that, you're kind of just trying to look whether you want to go Neil against Fremantle, good pick. Whether you want to go Josh Kelly against Melbourne, like Josh Kelly will get you 110 probably. He's not a bad pick. I think Cripps could really bounce back against Saints. I think because Steele plays that tackling game and he's a bit of a bigger body, I think Cripps will be better suited to that. Steele tries to get his own footy as well. He's not as crafty as De Boer, so I think after last week, I think Cripps will be a bit dirty, and that's my opinion. I don't mind going the captain on him. He's still averaging 120, so it's, he's averaging 120 for a reason. I don't see him having 2 crappy games in a row, But if you don't have Cripps and you're probably one of the 30%, then he is dropping in price after that game. So you can't lose.
Well, he's under 6 now, isn't he? So
he's $5.99. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you don't have Dangerfield or you don't have Heaney, this is literally the steal of the season. I don't know how you don't, but if I had have known that by round 9, Dangerfield would be 471,000 with a break even of 67, I would have been laughing. And even Heaney, 453k. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, they were the top 2 must-have forwards. The first 2 forwards you picked.
Top 2, and if you didn't have them and you went, say, a Tim Kelly and a Boak or someone else, you would be
laughable.
Oh, you'd be laughing. Oh, if someone looked at your team and you were like, oh, yeah, I've got Tim Kelly and Boak instead of Patrick Dangerfield and instead of Heaney, people would think like, yeah, just delete your team.
Exactly.
Just delete, catch you later. You suck. You're never going to be top 1,000. You won't even be top 30,000 because your team sucks. And then all of a sudden, bang, catch you later. So, in hindsight, I wish I had just like, something in advance or even just the weekly scores in advance. That'd be great. That would be my wish, literally. If I had
crystal ball.
Oh yeah, if I had one wish, I would ask. If I had one wish, I'd ask for the Sunday paper a week in advance for the rest of my life.
So, what have we talked about? What you're looking at doing this week?
Not quite. I feel like I should finish here. Mundy got a 140, which I think is ridiculous. Blakely with the 88 on his first game back, Fife with a flat 100. Hogan's been sputting it on and off, 42. Definitely a miss. Parrish as well, I didn't touch on. Parrish has been crap and should improve with Devon Smith out, but he's been horrible, 61. Zeeble went 140, he went big, don't bring him in, it's a trap. Cunnington 127, again, don't bring him in, it's a trap. Parker and Lloyd went huge. Lloyd 141. So I'm trying to rattle off some of these break evens as I go, but Lloyd, 556k, 108 break even. So he's literally ripe for the picking if you need an upgrade. Lloyd and Whitfield, the biggest bargains this week. 556k, the pair of them each are 556k with a break even of 108 and 117. You can't go wrong. If you don't have them, they are cheap as chips. Get on it. Sydney, Heaney there. Mills is crap still. Rosie for Port Adelaide has huge. He has actually made a couple 100,000. I think it's 200,000 or 300,000. Rosie's been stupid. 116 this week. Stupid.
Could he get Rookie of the Year?
He could. He is absolutely killing it. He's up 200,000. So, and he was an expensive rookie. So he's been a freak. And when I saw him against the Lions at the Gabba, after about 15 minutes into the first quarter, I was like, this kid's going to win the Rising Star for the week. And he just towed us up. 5 goals, just towed us. Absolutely freak. Definitely someone to get in the keeper league. I think I might have to craft that one and try and steal that pick from someone. Going through Hawthorn, only Warple, 98. So I think you have him, don't you, Ben?
Correct, I do. And he's not breaking records, but he's doing the job.
Chipping away. Definitely better than having a Parker on your field. So can't argue with you there. Sicily was actually key defending on Tom Lynch. Key defending. So he only scored a Sick Dog got a 75 as a key defender. So he's also primed for the picking in a couple of weeks. His price is 520,000 with a break even of 131. So he is probably one of my first upgrade targets, I believe, after the buys because of that. He will be under 500,000 and it's going to be amazing. GWS, Whitfield, towed up 170, Taranto 144, Kelly 131, Green 106. It was the GWS show. Williams injured, which sucked for a 75. Scrimshaw sucked for Hawthorn with a 55. Carlton, Walsh with an 80, Newman with a 118. They were the only positive lights out of that. And Setterfield 29, Gibbons 28. Corbett 60 for the Suns, Collins 36, Richmond, who I can't forget, Dusty with a 128 was very Dusty-like. I don't know if you saw this game, Ben, but Dusty looks good.
I didn't watch it, but I think he could quietly be back. He does look good.
Yeah, he is the Voldemort partway through the season where you don't want to say his name out loud, but you're like, he's back.
Yeah, Yeah, well, the numbers don't lie. He's scored well the last few weeks, and he's definitely got the potential. We've seen it before, so maybe he's got his ass kicked, but he's definitely putting up decent numbers at the moment.
Yep, no, I'm with you.
And Richmond are winning.
He definitely looked a lot better. He was tackling, he was moving well, he was actually doing really good things. And he's actually quite cheap too. He is, where can I find him? Dustin Martin, 503,000 with a break even of 73, so he's not too bad. Yeah, interesting. And that pretty much rounds us out for that. So let's get into what you're looking at doing, Ben, for the buys, and we'll get into some Q&As.
With my team, I currently have a pretty even spread, so I'm not like looking at doing a mass cull, like a 3 trade week. 1, because I won't have the trades, and 2, because it's fairly balanced already. I'll probably make the 2 trades before the buy, which will bring in 1 more premium, and I'll probably just ride it out and hope that I get 18 good players on the field. So McRae in that second round would be the one that I'll get if anything, but yeah, there's a lot of time between now and then. So
that's fair. I'm in the same situation as a lot of people with the Williams and Moore dilemma. And it's a tricky one. Like, I still don't know what I'm doing this week. It's really going to depend on the team announcements. So I've got 100K in the bank. I could just go Williams straight up. I don't mind going Williams up because he's made 100,000 basically, 97.5 thousand. So he's nearly made 100. He probably won't. He was going to be around the top 10 mark. He has been. I think he is actually around the 10th position at the moment. But if he misses, and this is the thing that I hate, is they've been so coy about how long he's out for. They said he will miss this week, and we got his results back in, and he will miss this week, and maybe he'll miss a couple. But they haven't said anything. It's not like, oh, it's a minor strain, and he'll probably miss 10 days, which then means he'll miss a week and possibly miss more than that. But we have nothing to go on, and this is typical GWS bullshit reporting on their injuries, which it just gets me. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, this is a hard thing. They've got Melbourne and Gold Coast, so if he's in any doubt, they're not going to play him in round 11.
Probably not in round 12, and then they have the bye round 13. Is that right?
So, correct. So, they play Adelaide, round 12. North in round 13. So, I was looking at Williams as a definite keeper. He's scored 91, 121, 140, and 82 against Hawks, and then 75 in half a game against Carlton. I was really disappointed when he got injured because I saw him as one of my keepers, and now it's a really hard decision because GWS don't give you any information at all. So it's a really tough one.
It is. It's very tough, and this is a dilemma I'm in because I might go down and down depending on what rookies are named, but I might downgrade one and then actually upgrade Darcy Moore and get Whitfield that way and give it a week. So either way, they're both not playing. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go down one and upgrade more because I'm going to have to upgrade more anyway. If by chance he comes back next week, Williams, and he's playing Gold Coast, hallelujah, I've now got another good player on my side who will probably tear up and probably do his hammy again. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because I'm like, I could literally go from him I could go, from Williams to Whitfield, bang one trade. I've got the 100K in the bank, so I could use that. Or I could go one down and one up and do more, which I'm going to have to do anyway. So it's this funny dilemma where I really don't know what I'm doing, and it's really going to depend on teams tomorrow, to be honest.
Yeah, the way I see it, if you trade him out and he comes in next week and does a 120 and continues on his merry way, you're going to be upset you essentially sideways traded him. So I'm a big fan of the one down, one up.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't mind it. He's 500K. You could then get a top 6 who will play, essentially who will play this week as well as further weeks. If Moore wasn't actually out as well, I think because if you have both of them and they're both out, it's kind of like, okay, well, who would you rather possibly play next week? I'd rather have Williams.
Force your hand a bit more, doesn't
I'd rather have Williams play next week. Whereas if you didn't have Darcy Moore and you just had Zach Williams, then I'd kind of be a bit more like, okay, well, maybe you should, if you have the cash in one trade, just go up because you definitely know that Whitfield's going to be that essentially top defender at this point in time. He's going to go up in price because after this round, his 117 break-even is going to drop so hard, it's not funny. You have this week and next week to get him in because at 170, his price is going to turn around so quick and leave. It'll be like Cripps wishing he never signed to Carlton again. He wished he just packed up and went home to Perth, to be honest.
Yeah, if I had Williams and 100k spare, I would be really considering doing a single trade. You can be faulted for that.
It's a tough one. So that's, I think, the dilemma that a lot of people are in at this point in time. If you have a swing position and you can swing more through, that's fine. But Moore's priced quite well that he is actually one of the most opportune people to upgrade. Yes, I know like Sicily is going to be good for a little bit, but I was like, so Scrimshaw and Dersma, they're really good options because they're around that 300 mark as well, 320 mark. But I think I already had a look. Like next week, I could actually go Dersma down and upgrade Scrimshaw to Sicily, and they have the same buy. So realistically, you're getting rid of two guys with the first buy. You're bringing in one, so it's not going to change your format that much. And you've actually then can bring in a rookie who should play that first buy for you and also generate cash. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing to balance out my side a little bit. Is I'll bring in someone maybe with that first buy if I'm getting rid of rookies with the same buy.
And that's smart. That's yeah.
Well, you got to try. Think smart. Think smarter, not harder. So it's I don't know.
That's brilliant.
I feel like I need to start making some moves though because like I've still got 22 trades. So I want to make another upgrade this week, bank some cash next week. And either way, I need to bring in Whitfield this week. And then Sicily, maybe next week, it's a luxury. I might wait till after the buy or I might do it beforehand, but it's a bit of a luxury right now. And I might even hold Parker based on their Carlton this week. Who are they playing next week? Let me see if I can flick through to round 11 before their buy. They versus Port Adelaide Saints. So, yeah, I don't know. It's at home, so you could, make an argument there, I guess. But, yeah, it's interesting. What we might do is we might flick to some of these questions, Ben, and get your opinion, and then we will leave it for a day.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just looking at our Ben and Ben show, which will be the official logo for this episode. It's funny because Chris's fiance, I can say that officially now, she messaged me actually about 40 minutes ago. I only just saw saying, I've got the code if you want the code because I'm awake. And I was like, you're too late. So just just like the pill, it's too late.
We did try hard to afford it, but
oh, definitely. And I spent so much time. I spent way too much time on this, and I still have stuff to do for tomorrow's lessons, which is not a good way to go. Okay, so let's bring up a couple questions on the Facebook, if it'll ever let me. Okay, so no Twitch tonight. Meanwhile, there's been a little bit of anger with the no Twitch tonight. Stonesy, I apologise. I also have to give a shout out to Ando. So I said I would. Ando's listening to this on his way to work tomorrow, I believe. So shout out to you, Ando, and Fozzie as well for all of your support. It looks like a few people. Carl Shepherd, he's gone hose before bros, mate. Fallen Soldier, Ben and Ben show. I'm loving it. All right, so I like this. Okay, so we'll go into my Q&As over here. Wonderful. I wonder if anyone's left any questions for you, Ben. Okay, Darcy Moore, hold or trade? It's tough. His break-even's only like 62, so I think, if anything, Darcy Moore is more likely to play next week. I think he missed last week, he missed this week. I don't see Darcy Moore missing another. However, I'd rather have Williams in my side. And if Williams doesn't play next week, I can just upgrade him to Sicily or someone like that next week. That's my opinion. So I think I might just go Whitfield this week, get him in, and then I can always upgrade Williams next week, or at least maybe GWS will actually give us some proper bloody information on how he is tracking and his injury. Well, it's just like last week with Cornelio, how they were saying, oh yeah, it'll be a week-to-week sort of proposition. Like, except they're like, oh, this week, oh yeah, he looks like he probably should be back, and it probably wasn't that bad. But last week, you'd have no idea. I hate GWS. Okay, so that's the first one.
I agree with you on that too. I would hold Williams. I think he has a much higher ceiling than Moore. And yeah, Moore's good for 75, 80 with good job security, but I would rather keep Williams myself.
Okay, so Michelle Anderson, thanks for joining us. Michelle says, who would you set as a priority between Sicily, Fife, or Boak? Oh, that's a tough one. So it really depends on who they have in their lines, don't you think, Ben?
I do. I'm a big fan of isolating who is your worst positional player. So whether it's D6, F6, or M8, and whoever's scoring the lowest, my aim is to kick that person off and replace them with a premium. So who was it? Boak, Fife, and Sicily?
Yeah, they're the three.
Yeah. So really, I would look at who is scoring the worst on the last part of those respective lines, and I'd make that person a priority. Probably Fife just for ceiling. But yeah, you can't go wrong with any of them, depending on who's going out.
Yeah, I think if you started with, a lot of us have had a pretty big and strong midfield, and the fact that there aren't many forward rookies around, I'd probably say Fife would be the best option, except unless you are only 3 or 4 deep in the forward line and playing Parker and Setterfield and those kind of guys, or Petrocelli, then I'd probably say Boak is the biggest from there. Otherwise, yeah, Fife, Boak, Sicily for me if I had a preference.
And a lot of people still do have those 2 or 3 forward rookies.
Yeah, which Boak would be perfect then.
Yeah, and you know they're going to score a 30 or a 40. So, yeah, you're right. Boak would probably be the best way to go there, considering a lot are still playing Petrocelli, Parker, and, well, I won't say Bolter because he's doing well, but, yeah, prioritise getting rid of the person who's scoring the lowest on your on-field team for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Ben Rothberg actually had the same question, basically, as us. Williams to Whitfield, Moore to Whitfield, or Dersma to Whitfield. I'd probably say one of the first two. Leave Dersma, he's playing. And, yeah, wait for teams, I guess. Depending on... It's a 50-50 flip, to be honest, and I'm probably going more to Whitfield at this stage. But, yeah, it's 50-50. Okay, Justin Iris. Anyone know how long Moore will be out for? If I trade, you reckon Sicily or Stewart, or downgrade to Garma? Ooh, I don't think I'm a Garma to trade out for that. So
no, if you're trading him out, you're going up.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, he's so high price. He's 370k or something. So you've got to go up. I don't know how long Moore's out for. I think he was close. They were talking. He said if I train on Wednesday, then I probably will play, kind of thing. And he didn't train today, so he's ruled out. So I think he will probably play next week. If you can deal without it, you can keep him. Otherwise, again, like Sicily's break-even's like 130, so he's dropping price. If you don't have Lloyd or Whitfield, that would be my recommendation to get up instead of Sicily. It's only 30k more or 35k more. Make the investment. Make a good choice. Okay. Oh, Jared Lucas is really keen on this, Ben. So he says, Jesus, the rivalry is teaming up. This will be great. So you've got a lot of support. And like I said, it's also good to have another person in the top 5,000 sharing their much not appreciated but valued opinions.
Yeah, no, Jared's killing it, and he's a great admin. Adrian, he's cool as well. But no, we've got a good team, and we have a lot of good banter. So
yes, so yeah, so AFL 360, isn't it? AFL?
Yeah, AFL Supercoach 360.
AFL Supercoach 360, and well, I was relating. You don't relate it to this, but I was relating it to Fight Club, where the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club, and because it's a members only, and you need to know someone to get in to that members only. So yes, if there is anyone desperate to get into there, and I know you're not a flog, you can send Supercoach Insider a message. You can send us a message, and then maybe I'll accept you on Facebook if you're cool enough, and you send me some beers, and then I can get you in. There's your connection.
Much appreciated, mate.
Don't worry, Ben. I'll make sure that they're frothies, and I'll send you half.
Sounds good.
There you go.
6-pack.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Depending on what they get, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. Right. I think that's pretty much.
For Chris.
I think that's pretty much it for. I'm trying to look through. So I did say that we wouldn't be going to Twitch. Jordan Keast. Don't tell me what to do. Jeez, he's funny. You're not my real dad, Jordan Keast. So get stuffed. Okay, so that's for that. I'm going to go over to Twitter. I did put out my Q&A a bit later today because I thought we would be going on the old Twitch, which kind of ruined me. So Lincoln Beggs actually says, who's this Chris guy? So there you go, Ben. Look, you're already well received. I don't know if it's because you're so awesome or the fact that they just love giving shit to Chris at this point. So
yeah, I'm going to go the latter, I would say.
The latter. So I think that pretty much rounds us out. Just having a look over the other ins and outs at this point. Gibbons is 262k and he has a break even of 68. So Gibbons could actually be moved out soon. He had that really crappy 28 score or 26 or whatever it was. Petrocelli is actually hitting around his break even now with a 52. So you could move him on. Stack with a 66. I think you can probably hold to the buys because he probably will bring out something half decent. Baker
and he's got the round 14 buy as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Baker as well though with a 71 break even is a bit more concerning because he's 329k, so you could actually move him up to someone quite decent.
Easily.
Which is that's the challenge. It's this balancing rope between trying to make maximum profit but also making sure you don't end up with stooge rookies through the buys. After the buys, you can bring in a guy for 102k. It doesn't matter. Like whatever. If they don't play, if you don't have bench cover, then you're stuffed and you can just use a trade to get another premium. But in the buy rounds, it's really pivotal to get those guys like Bolter that might swing 100 or a stack or someone like that, and you're taking all of your best scores. It's a tough balancing line because you also want maximum points on field and you want maximum premiums to leave the buys with a full squad. So, yes. Oh, Collins is injured too, so you can bugger him off. He's out for like 6 weeks, I think. So, 291k, you can get rid of him.
And he's done his job, really, hasn't he? Making that money.
He has done his job. He's only made about 110. I think he was up to 330 and people should have moved him on around then. In the end, it's probably a good thing I actually did get Darcy Moore over Collins because I would have had to play him or Scrimshaw or someone on field a lot more than I did. So I think that's very interesting. People to watch is, so people to watch, Boak with a break-even of 138. Luke Ryan has a break-even of 156. So he should actually drop to, depending on he has a massive ceiling, but he should drop around that 500 mark for around his buy, which is good also. You already brought him in, didn't you, Ben? That's right. Luke Ryan.
I was waiting for that.
How'd he go this week?
He got an 80.
Oh, so 280s in a row? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So so we'll blame you for that one. And he'll probably do really well, actually, against the Lions. Or depending, like McCarthy and Cameron might put a lot of pressure on those, so it'll be interesting.
I'm also interested to see if or what impact Blakey has to Ryan.
Oh, yes. You brought him in just before, hey? Just to wait and see?
Yeah, there was always a question mark, but I like to live on the edge, so it's fine with me.
That old question mark. Matty Crouch, 509k with a break-even of 153, so I am looking at him as a target as well because he hasn't actually scored that bad, and he could go big in some games later this year. So Matt Crouch under 500k, I think, is a really good bargain. Cornelia, I'm also looking at for 505k. Like, I know he's done badly and just scored flat hundreds, but my God, he could turn it on. And if he gets to like 450k or dropped 100, I don't know how you can turn him down. I just don't. I don't know. Like, just so much potential, so much talent, and it is still a contract year, so I expect him to lift. But if he drops more, I am very interested. I wouldn't even mind bringing him in for next week against Gold Coast, to be honest. So
yeah, well, those two you mentioned wouldn't be a bad M7 or M8 at the end of the year. So
yeah,
definitely keep an eye on him.
Even Jeremy Cameron,
yes.
Break even of 159 because of his score last week. He's 496k, so he will drop. I reckon he will drop probably more like, I think he got 100 last week, but he'll probably drop to about 450 and then go in against Gold Coast where he could get a 180. It's he will be tempting for 450 next week. You could throw like 100 maybe onto Drew or something like and get him. It's going to be so cheap. It's ridiculous.
Bargain.
It is ridiculous. And the other one is Franklin, 435k, which if he gets on a roll after the bye might be interesting. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
That's okay, Ben. So, look, we'll wait for team announcements tomorrow anyway and see what anarchy we are left with. Hopefully we have a full list of sides. But, look, I really appreciate you for coming on and talking to me so I don't have to talk to myself, which is great. And I hope the community really appreciate it and get behind you as well.
Much appreciated, mate. And Congratulations to Chris and all the best.
But
And
you can't finish on a good note. You gotta think of something to rip him with.
we've talked about Westhoff enough, so we don't need to keep saying Westhoff.
That's all right. We'll touch base with Chris when he's home and he's ranked over 20,000. So,
But he'll have an excuse all year because he was overseas.
Yes. Well, that's true. He was actually messaging me, asking me for tips, except I was too busy. Just last thing before
really much appreciated, mate. And yeah, glad to be on.
Last thing before you go, Ben, who are you locking in as your VCNC to finish us off?
I be honest, I have not thought about captain. I'm rolling with Grundy as vice captain.
And you don't need a plan B because Grundy's going to tear up.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I need one, and if I do, we'll look at it Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to do the same thing. Just put it on Grundy, don't think about it, and then assess your options on Saturday when you're hungover.
That'll do. Same with trades. I'm not looking at really any trades until team announcements. A lot of people do that and end up with migraines or what have you. It's really pointless before teams come out. So, I'm just going to do the vice captain on Grundy and go from there.
Yeah, I'm the same. I haven't thought about mine too much except for the injury anarchy, but team announcements will always throw a curveball. But look, that's it for us today. I hope you have enjoyed it. We really appreciate your time and for tuning in. I've got to now try and edit this and put it up online and do some stuff before midnight. So wish me luck. And Ben, thank you again. You are a gentleman as always, and I look forward to heckling you throughout the weekend.
Bring it on. Thanks, mate.
Easy. Thanks, Ben. See you, mate.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Bye.